Okay, so page 58 today, we're going to talk about perimeter. Circumference. And area. And we're going to talk about four shapes today. Triangle first. We're going to label some dimensions in here. So we're going to call the left side of this triangle C, the right side of the triangle is D, and the bottom lowercase b. This dashed line, vertical dashed line, we're calling H, and that represents the height of the triangle. So for this triangle, the perimeter, capital letter P, is equal to B plus C plus D. It's the sum of the sides. Perimeter of a polygon is equal to the sum of the sides. The area of this triangle, if you're asked to find the area of this triangle, the formula is 1/2 times the base times the height. All right, real important note right here. Base and height are always perpendicular. In all polygons, the base and the height are always perpendicular. So if you're ever confused as to what the base is and what the height is, find two segments in the triangle that are perpendicular to each other. One of those will be the base, the other one will be the height. Okay? Super important. Base and height are always perpendicular. When you're finding the area and you're going to multiply 1/2 times the base times the height, your base and your height need to be two segments. Here's the B right here, the base. And here's the height, this dashed line going from this vertex up top down to the base. So it looks like my pen is stuck again. All right, so we're going to talk about a square next. One of the characteristics of a square is 4 90-degree angles. And the sides are all the same length. So we can just use one variable here, S. And the perimeter of a square is equal to 4 times one of the side lengths. Because they're all going to be the same. So instead of adding 4 numbers together and taking a chance on pushing the wrong button in the calculator, just multiply one of the sides times 4 and it gives you the perimeter. The area of a square is found by taking one of the sides again and squaring it. Area is found by taking one of the side lengths and squaring it. Next shape we got is a rectangle. Characteristics of a rectangle. Again, 4 90-degree angles. But in a rectangle, opposite sides are congruent. And we call one of those sides the length, and we call the other side the width. So the perimeter of a rectangle is equal to, you can add the 4 sides together, but a cleaner formula for finding the perimeter of a rectangle is take 2 times the length and add it to 2 times the width. 2 times the length plus 2 times the width will give you the perimeter. And then to find the area of a rectangle, we multiply the length times the width. All right, in this circle here, from the center of a circle to the edge of the circle, we call that the radius, lowercase r. From one side of the circle through the center to the other side of the circle, we call that the diameter. All right, and we can say that the radius is equal to the diameter divided by 2. And the diameter is always equal to 2 times the radius. Now, circumference, like I just said, circumference is the distance around the circle. And the formula, you've got 2 formulas for circumference. You can use the formula 2 times pi times the radius, or circumference is also equal to pi times the diameter. So if you're given the diameter of the circle, you can use this formula. If you're given the radius of the circle, you can use this formula. And then the area of a circle is equal to pi times the radius squared. Pi times the radius squared. All right, so now we're going to take each of those 4 shapes and we're going to find the perimeter and area of each. So let's look at, we're going to start with that rectangle in example 2A. And we've got a 3.2 centimeter dimension and a 2.1. All right, so the perimeter is equal to 2 of the lengths plus 2 of the widths. So if we do 2 times 3.2 plus 2 times 2.1. All right, the 2 times 3.2, that's 6.4. 2 times 2.1, 4.2. And when we take 6.4 plus 4.2, we get 10.6. Now, these dimensions that were given were in centimeters. So our perimeter is in centimeters. Area is equal to length times width. So the area of the shape is going to be equal to 3.2 times 2.1. 3.2 times 2.1, 6.72. Now, area is given in square units. All right, square units. So if our area is 6.72, it would be, you could see it as centimeters squared is read 6.72 square centimeters. 6.72 square centimeters. Whatever the dimension is of the shape is what your area and perimeter is in for each of those formulas. So let's look at example B there. Let's look at that circle. And in that circle, you're given the radius, right? Of 3. So go ahead and find the circumference. And then find the radius while my screen is getting unfrozen. So here we go. Since we're given the radius, the circumference is equal to 2 times pi times the radius, which is 3. Now we're going to use the pi button on our calculator. Okay? So if you push 2 times the pi button, it's 1 left and 2 up from the 7. So push 2 times the pi button times 3, hit equals. And I'm going to take my calculator to second, fix 2. And you should get 18.85. All right, 2 times pi button times 3, because 3 was our radius. Set the calculator to second, fix 2. And there's your circumference. Our area is equal to pi times the radius, which is 3, squared. Now, make sure you square the 3 before you multiply it by pi. All right, so when I'm doing area, I like to work backwards. So now in the calculator, if you push 3 and then the x squared button, which is 2 above the 8, and then you can push times the pi button and hit equals. And I get 28.27. Let's look at that other circle there, example 2B. Because now we're given the dimension, we're given the diameter. We're given 6.2 as the diameter. So when we find the circumference now, we're going to use that circumference equals pi times diameter. So we're going to go pi times 6.2. And that's just a calculator function. So pi button times 6.2, hit equals, and I get 19.48. Our area is equal to pi times the radius squared. All right, so look, if our diameter is 6.2, we take radius is equal to 6.2 divided by 2. Which is 3.1. Be careful not to use the radius. Be careful not to use the diameter when you're finding area. If you're given that area, make sure you divide it by 2 to get the radius. So pi times radius, which is 3.1 squared. So I'm going to take 3.1, I'm going to push x squared button. I get 9.61. And then I'm going to push times pi button equals, and I get 30.19. That's our area. And then down there on the bottom, we've got that triangle. We're going to find the perimeter and the area of this triangle. We've got a 9.5, a 9.5, a 10.2, and then we got this dashed line going down the middle of the triangle that's perpendicular to the base. And it's listed as 8. So that dashed line going down the middle of the triangle represents our height. Since that dashed line is perpendicular to the segment that's 10.2, the 10.2 is our base. So there's your base and your height. So our perimeter is equal to the sum of the sides. I got a 9.5 plus a 9.5 plus a 10.2. $29.2. Our area.
Good morning, Commodores. This is Mr. Fry with a testing related announcement. Teachers, if you would please email.
All right, so we added 3 sides together. We got 29.2 for the perimeter. Our area is equal to, we said earlier, area equals 1/2 times the base times the height. Some people like to use 0.5 times base times height. They both mean the same thing. It's just whatever you choose to use in your calculator. So for our area, we go 0.5 times the base, which is 10.2, times the height, which is 8. And it's like this little double check. Yes, my base, 10.2, and my height, the 2 dimensions I'm using, are perpendicular to each other. So one's my base, the other's my height. So in your calculator, we're going to go with 0.5 times 10.2 times 8 equals, and I get 40.8. And this time the dimension is in inches. So this is going to be square inches. All right, so any questions on finding the perimeter and area of any of those shapes? Yes, ma'am. All right, question is, why is the square by the inch? Because area is how many square units you can fit inside the shape. Meaning, if I had a square and it was 1 inch by 1 inch, all right? What this means, 40.8 square inches. It means that I could fit 40.8 of these squares inside of this triangle. It's the unit of measure that area is measured in. Square units. Perimeter is just measured in what's called linear units, measured in a line. All right, any other questions? All right, then your practice today is going to be on page 62. 17 through 22.